But if they were an issue, they were an issue back then, and you shouldn't have voted for it.
How do you think?
I don't want to tell you all my Trump stories.
Fairness. What's unfair?
I don't care about surveys. I think surveys are extremely misleading.
That's a terrible answer.
That's why I got invalidated.
I disagree.
I
with
think
you on
I
that.
need a shot of tequila.
Just
Can somebody
one
get
last
me
thing.
one?
One last thing.
But the majority of the board's supposed to be independent, and it's not.
I think this is un-American. I really do.
You're going to want to sit down for this one because this confrontation is real. There is tension in the air. But the good news is you can still use the amazing coupon code for the programs on Building Your Wealth expiring this Friday. And we've launched a mastermind product. Go to meetkevin.com/mastermind if you're interested in a mastermind where we fly around the country and help in person with whatever it is. From CFOs hitting us up, from individuals in Mag 6 companies looking to get ahead as entrepreneurs, build a business, you name it. We're doing a mastermind by popular demand. Check it.
I'm going to try to mediate this here. I'm going to start with Cathie. He didn't want to vote for that compensation plan.
No, that's true. I voted for the compensation plan in 2018.
No, it's her turn. He says that he doesn't like paying the richest man in the world more money. What's your response?
That's a terrible answer. No, I'm saying this man committed, and you voted for it, to working for free. No base salary, no bonus, no stock comp.
Cathie owned 20% of the company.
So what? He said, here, I'm going to lay out this plan, and if I achieve this from an operational point of view, this is the compensation package. And I'll tell you what we thought. This was back in 2018, because we had just published our first Tesla model. And I remember saying to our analysts, I said, he's using our model. He thinks we're right. He thinks we're right. I mean, of course, it's all about us. No, I didn't mean that. But he's using our model. He really thinks this is possible when no one thinks this is possible out there. And we had him accomplishing those goals in 5 years. He did them in 3 years. And now you're going to tell him no?
I didn't tell him no at all. In fact, it was Judge McCormick that invalidated the pay package because
so judges are now in charge of corporate compensation.
No, it's not about corporate compensation, Cathie, and I think that's the misperception. It's about corporate governance. And Tesla has a board that is not independent. And it is required by the NASDAQ and Delaware to have an independent board. And what the judge had said was that the package was not negotiated fairly with the board. See, the issue I had and why I voted against it was I thought it would be much more productive for them to do a new pay package than to regurgitate the old one that was shot down.
They could not. ISS said the same thing. Why didn't they cut the pay cap? You couldn't do that legally in this.
You can retroactively add compensation
but that's
from the past.
beside the point. I shouldn't even have countenanced the point because I just don't agree with it. He did it. We've voted once again. The shareholders have voted. And I don't think and we voted knowing full well all the governance issues you think were an issue. But if they were an issue, they were an issue back then, and you shouldn't have voted for it.
No, I don't. It's not what I think. It's what the judge in Delaware thinks, and that's why it got invalidated.
Oh my goodness!
So what's happened now is it's going back to the judge in Delaware, and just because we revoted for it again doesn't necessarily make it valid either. So that was the problem, is that we're still dealing with this.
You know what's been great about this whole time? Andrew Ross Sorkin on CNBC. And we used to be on the other side of Tesla regularly. He is with us on this. I think this is un-American. I really do.
What's un-American?
To let judges use some esoteric fairness. What's unfair about a stock moving from, I don't even know what on the split basis, $20 to $417? You know, what's
But
unfair
Cathie,
about
once
that?
again, you're not talking about why this happened. This happened because Elon's brother is on the board of directors
And
and
he was
voted
back then,
on,
and you knew
right.
it.
But what I'm saying is that he never went through the process that's required by law to do these things correctly. Why is it so hard to do them correctly?
I disagree with you on that too.
It's not disagree. That's why it got invalidated.
I disagree
I
with
think
you on
I
that.
need a shot of
Just-
tequila.
Just,
Can
just
somebody
one
get
last
me
thing. One last thing. One last thing. One last thing.
I'll have some tequila.
Around the whole 2018 funding secured drama, after that, they elevated Robin Denholm, whom I have known for years. She was at Sun Microsystems. She was at Juniper. I've known her very well. She's from Australia. She suffers no fools. And she and Elon, she is truly independent. They made her the chair after that.
They
So
didn't.
what-
The SEC did.
So she was made the chair.
So next topic.
What does that tell you about governance?
That the SEC forced Tesla to have an independent chair because
you go,
they forced
independent.
Elon off the board. But the majority of the board is supposed to be independent, and it's not. And that hasn't been rectified. And that's what I'm saying. Tesla needs to focus on selling cars. That's their job. The fact that this is the main conversation around Tesla is a failure in selling cars. And that's what we have to deal with next week when they report their numbers, is what are the numbers at Tesla? And so this is all just conjecture either way, and it's a big waste of time if they would have gone through
I don't
things
think
correctly.
it's a big waste in time. I do not think that the courts, I don't
All
think
right.
the courts
Very well.
should
So-
be, I don't think the courts should be determining corporate compensation. Just do not.
So now we're going to go to another thing that you both agree on. You say the economy is great. You say the middle class and lower class is suffering and the Fed has gone too far. You did acknowledge there was a risk that the Fed can go too far. Ross has mentioned that he had trouble booking a hotel because the economy is so well here, doing so well here.
Well, just go outside here.
And you're saying that we're seeing price cuts, we're seeing unit volumes go down, we're seeing a decline in visitation, customers showing up. Let's start, since I started with you, Cathie, I'm going to start with you, Ross. What can you say to Cathie's argument that the middle class and lower class is suffering today?
The Rio is sold out.
Cathie?
This conference might have something to do with that.
It still costs money, and if you walk around here, and these are not the wealthiest
I'm looking
people.
at
These
macro.
are normal
I'm-
people, and they're
I'm
spending
looking
lots
at,
of money.
I'm looking at macro indicators. It's what we do just to understand the backdrop. And they are looking worse and worse with time. 3.6% saving rate. You go back to 2008, see that saving rate. When people get worried that they're going to lose their jobs, and today it's not just lower income or middle income, some of these tech jobs, people are losing tech jobs because of AI. When they get worried, the saving rate goes up. It's human nature. I can't spend as much. I need, just in case I lose my job. And I think if you look in the University of Michigan, I think this was the survey, sentiment index, I think 70% of people making more than $100,000 are afraid of losing their jobs. It's skyrocketing here. And I do think technology has something to do with it.
Yeah, and I agree. I think higher income job seekers are seeing a lot less opportunity than lower and middle class income seekers at this moment. And a lot of that has to do with the lack of hiring in many of the major companies. They've stopped hiring. But this is a manufacturing of the Fed. This is exactly what the Fed wants. The Fed wants unemployment to go up. They want job security to go, insecurity to go up so that employers have a more of a balance with wages and such. So this was the goal of the current policy, to create those indicators. The question is, can they manage this in a way that doesn't cause a recession? And that, I think many people, including yourself, thought that we would have already been in a horrible recession by now.
Well, housing is. Autos are in a funk. I think whatever Tesla reports
I mean,
is
those are
economic.
instant rate, interest rate sensitive.
Office, multifamily, and now we're hitting the consumer. I mean, that's pretty, and capital spending as well. Pretty broad based.
On a third topic.
So I think we can agree that the Fed needs to lower rates.
They definitely do.
Oh, so there's agreement.
There we
found
go.
agreement.
There we go.
On another thing that we all agree on, well, you two agree on, you just announced that you're going to be voting for Donald Trump.
I'm not supposed to be announcing anything. All I'm saying
She said it was best for the economy.
On economics, he definitely is
But you
one of the
mentioned
best
that you're
in
gonna
history.
vote for who would do best for the economy.
That's who I tend to vote for.
Okay,
My
okay.
compliance department tells me I can't say who I'm going to vote for.
So you're voting for Trump?
No, I would never vote for Trump, but that has more to do with morality than anything else.
Not from an economic point of view.
I just.
How do you
I
think?
don't want to tell you all my Trump stories.
How about this?
I have actual stories.
Since this is about money and economics,
I grew up in the Apprentice era.
so did Stormy Daniels.
Once again, I don't want to get into stories that I know about,
So,
but he's not my candidate.
how about for the economy?
I think for the economy, I think Joe Biden's, one of the most regressive economic policies that I've seen in a long time, whether it's FTC, what you brought up, whether it's this ridiculous support for unions at the expense of corporations, or even sanity. He's created a very difficult environment for businesses, which despite that, we're having a strong economy and not in a recession, even with high interest rates. I don't think there's any doubt that Trump, and his focus on business and the economy is better for business and certainly better for the wealthy.
Are you listening to company reports when they report earnings?
Yes.
Other than the Mag 6, there's a lot of pain out there. There are companies that are very economically sensitive. If you look at UPS revenues, they've been down, not growth rate lower, but revenues actually falling. 3M, we've got China exporting deflation. I think company reports.
China's got a lot of issues.
Company reports, and we have exposure to China. Europe has exposure to China. I think company reports defy the thought that this economy is doing well. It's just not.
I mean, I think once again, you're talking about a lot of indicators that are indicative of the future of where the economy's heading, which is no question slowing.
No, I'm talking about now.
The world I live in, I can't get a reservation anywhere. Everything's booked. There's the biggest travel 4th of July in the history of humans is coming up. So people are traveling and they're spending money. I invest in MGM hotels here. The numbers are 97% occupancy rates with the highest room rates in history. The debt at the Sphere is sold out every night, 6 million a night. The debt is making,
This is a
they have to keep
very
adding.
narrow slice.
No, Vegas
Very
is
narrow.
America. Everybody in Vegas comes from around the country. You have all strata of people that come here from every income and economic level, every race, every background, and every country. It's one of the most diverse places on earth. If you just walk out here, it's incredible, the diversity.
Why, according to the University of Michigan, are consumers so miserable? Like
I don't
0809.
care about surveys. I think surveys are extremely misleading
No, they're
because
not.
when people fill out surveys, there's biases that are inherent when you fill something out. And I think you have to look at many indicators, and we use a lot of real world indicators. I spend a lot less time on data. Okay.
Well, you should spend more time on data.
Well, the problem is all the data is hindsight.
Meaning
data has to be
company
collected
data.
and it's old. So by the
Company
time
data.
you read it, it's been collected and it's now hindsight. So what we're really trying to say is what's happening moving forward. And the way we do that is by looking at things like what people are actually doing tonight.
So I do that every quarterly report season. I'm on lots of company calls just to learn more about the economy, even if we're not invested in them. They're not doing well, except for the exalted few.
I think as we discussed earlier, I think a lot of small companies are under a lot more financial pressure than mid and large sized companies. But I run a company that's growing and doing phenomenally well, and we work with lots of small businesses that are doing great.
Okay, moving on to another one. Dell? No Dell.
Are you a value investor?
No, not necessarily. I'm
I
a growth
think so.
investor.
This is innovation.
I've never been called a value investor, but I'll take that as a compliment.
If you
I'm
give
going to go
us,
tell the people in my firm that you called
if
me a
you,
value investor.
well, I often say if you give us 5 years, we're a deep value manager.
What do you say to that?
I think value, there's intrinsic value the way Cathie sees it, and she could be 100% correct. I think several of her stocks we own and have tremendous opportunities, and I think the way Cathie looks at the world is very innovative and very futuristic, and I think there's a lot of opportunity when you think that way. I think a lot of investors spend too much time looking at numbers and PE ratios and not enough time thinking about the future, which is what I think ARC does very well. And your team
Thank
is,
you. It is the team. The team is.
yeah,
I
your
have an
team is
amazing
great,
team.
and we've dealt with you guys for many years. So I think that markets are difficult for everybody, and the way markets value different investments at different times varies. And so I think in 20 and 21, there was a lot more premium being paid for growth than we're seeing today. Even NVIDIA trades at 35 forward multiple, which I don't consider a crazy number.
Unless there's a cyclical downturn.
Unless something changes, right? No, and that happens with chip companies, and we all know that. So I think what I try to do that might be different than you is we look for the companies that have the growth rate at the lowest cost for that growth, where a company like Dell with a very low forward PE and a very high potential growth rate into the next 5 years is very attractive to us, like a Dell and an Oracle, for example. But we also own ASML, Tesla, NVIDIA, Microsoft, which also have higher valuations.
Mm-hmm.
Very well. So now what we're going to do is we're going to open up to some questions from you all. I actually think it would be great if we had both of you here. We've got about 10 minutes or so. And who has a question? Please come up to the microphone.
Mr. Ross, Mr. Gerber, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Had a question. I was wondering if either of you were familiar with the new book by Robert Pearl called ChatGPT MD, and regarding AI implementation in medical services.
I can talk about, I haven't read the book, maybe our analyst has, but in drug discovery, ChatGPT is creating tremendous opportunities. We're learning things that human beings just hadn't even thought of before. And so it's kind of shaking up that world, which is very exciting. We think that AI, we think, is going to shorten the time between, discovery and development, and so trials, fewer failures. So we think that, and the reason we keep loading up on these multi-omic names is the convergence between DNA sequencing, which I described earlier, artificial intelligence, and some of these new therapies like CRISPR gene editing are going to create an explosion in new therapies, and actual cures. So,
what companies do you like the most in this area?
In
AI and medicine and like
well, all
genetics.
of them are harnessing AI. They have to be, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
for
in
sure,
terms of their
especially the
research.
genetic companies where you have so much data.
Right. So, yeah, our largest holding is CRISPR Therapeutics.
Right, CRISPR.
Yeah. Twist Biosciences in more the synthetic biology space. Intellia, which is also in the gene editing space. Those are three important ones. But have you read the book?
Yeah, it was a very good book. It was a little more focused on ChatGPT assisting doctors in providing services directly to patients and
that
medical
makes
records.
sense. Oh, well, our chief futurist, Brett Winton, half of his face was just almost destroyed in a soccer accident, and fractured 6 bones and everything. And he said he learned more about his condition and what to expect when by consulting ChatGPT than he did from the medical, anyone taking care of him medically. Wow. So I think it is going to, that's what I love. I mentioned earlier, young people, they're going to be doing this kind of research.
And I think there's huge opportunity in healthcare with AI. Like, of talking about a group of people that has data all over the place that isn't connected, where there's so much information and so many treatments, and then you have doctors who fundamentally are not good at technology, and so my doctor still uses paper files, and I'm like, what are you doing, buddy? You know, he's like, when am I supposed to change this? And I'm like, one day you just got to do it, you know. So I think that's probably one of the greatest opportunities for investors right now is how will healthcare, because the demand for healthcare, that is not changing, and that's getting heavier and heavier as my parents and our parents get older and older, and it's almost like there's this backup in the hospital for so much services. And so I think that's one of the greatest opportunities for investors is how do we implement technology?
It is, it's an interesting area of investing too, because tech investors don't love healthcare. VCs, they don't like healthcare. There's regulation, there's reimbursement, there's all kinds of their privacy, there's all kinds of friction. And healthcare investors haven't been crazy about technology because they like to move fast and break things. And so, watching for the companies that are going to bring these two things together, I think is going to be one of the most exciting opportunities we're going to find out there.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I like Oracle, because they own Cerner and they have all this expertise with AI and data, and so they've got the data there too.
And what happened with the face accident? That sounds terrible.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah, is he okay?
Yeah, he's fine. He's fine now. He's still having trouble chewing, but
Tell him I wish the best.
Yeah, there's almost a therapy aspect to that, though, being able to get your answers and comfort from it. So
it's a lot better than searching too. Remember when you search,
absolutely,
you would find all these horrific,
scary stories.
Yeah, and it was like the person whose arm fell off by accident. And they're like, why did I search this? This did not make me feel better.
Right.
And you have a totally opposite reaction when you start using chat.
Oh,
where
of course.
There's some like intelligence behind what it's sending you.
Yeah, I mean, we had one of the triplets almost died when she was born in an emergency C-section, and she had a blockage in her intestine which leaked out and caused her to basically swell up, and she could have gone septic any second. We went through this. She's alive and well now.
Yeah.
But we went through this mental anguish and trauma for just, frankly, 2 months until she was done with her 3 surgeries.
Wow.
And we were on and utilizing GPT on a daily basis because doctors were telling us a child that presents with meconium ileus is going to have cystic fibrosis. She'll be cystic fibrosis the rest of her life. And we said, how is that possible? We were genetically tested. We don't have CF. Doctors, no. Children don't present with this without CF. And so we're using GPT to find studies and research about children who can actually present without cystic fibrosis. And that we had these tests. And the comfort that gave us for the 6 weeks or 8 weeks that we were waiting was crucial just for our sanity, because the fear and just the tears and the emotion, it still makes me emotional thinking about it. While at the same time I have doctors telling me to our face, oh no, she's going to have CF.
That's crazy.
They were wrong.
They were wrong.
I mean, once again, I think there's so much opportunity to improve our healthcare system with this. Yeah.
I think many people are just the last thing. I used to make this analogy. The Mad Men days, 1960s with advertising.
Kevin was born in the 90s.
Stop.
The saying back then was, I know that half of my advertising works, I just don't know which half. And now we can. I think it's worse in healthcare. I honestly think, and it's not the fault of doctors necessarily. They didn't have the science or knowledge because we couldn't sequence the genome. It was prohibitively expensive. Now we have the knowledge. And I think we waste more than half of our healthcare dollars because our society is so litigious and doctors fear being sued. So too many surgeries, too much medicine. And I think that's going to change radically. And we're going to take more of healthcare into our own hands. And I'm going to give...
there's a lot of shady stuff too. Like my kid had his ankle looked at and they charged $20,000 for the x-ray. And it charged us $50, but when I looked at the bill thing, I said, the doctor charged $20,000.
So the reason
we called and we said, why did you bill this? And they're like, let me check. And we're like, what?
So I love this story because Art Laffer convinced then President Trump to push through this transparency in hospital pricing. They are now forced to put down what everything costs, and people like you are saying, what the heck?
What happened? What
Exactly.
happened? And it's craziness because literally it was an extra, there was nothing even wrong with them. And I think this transparency, so I tell my wife when she goes to the doctor to ask how much something costs.
Yes.
If you really want to see a doctor look uncomfortable, is before he does something, you say, how much does this cost?
Yes.
And then they don't know actually, which is crazy.
Yes.
Did I read right that
My designer doesn't know how much things cost either.
that Trump might consider Art Laffer for the Fed?
But he would never do it.
Okay.
First of all, he's 83 years old, going to be 84.
Hey, that doesn't stop
No,
anybody.
no,
Biden's
it doesn't.
in his 80s,
no,
you
no,
know?
no.
Young, that's young.
No. What he wants to use the rest of his life for is to go to countries like, including our own, to the extent anyone will listen, but going and helping them change the lots of people's lives. And he also said he was a member of he was a paid member of the government in the early 70s, which was a disaster. That's when we went into wage price controls. We went off the gold window, and he said, I'm never doing that again. I'm never going to be a paid government employee because I want to be able to say what I think.
100%.
Love that. Great question. All right, let's go to the next one.
I got to run.
Please take off. Thank you. Thank you for being
wanted
here.
to stay and
Okay.
you know, as long as I could.
So I guess we're not having
Thank
drinks
you, Ross.
today. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Next time maybe we should be more organized. But that
Oh.
me. It's me.
Okay, bye, Ross. Thank you, Ross.
Bye, Ross.
Why not advertise these things that you told us here? I feel like nobody else knows about this.
We'll try a little advertising and see how it goes.
Congratulations, man. You have done so much. People love you. People look up to you.
Kevin Paffrath there, financial analyst and YouTuber. Meet Kevin. Always great to get your take.
Even though I'm a licensed financial advisor, licensed real estate broker, and becoming a stockbroker, this video is not personalized advice for you. It is not tax, legal, or otherwise personalized advice tailored to you. This video provides generalized perspective, information, and commentary. Any third-party content I show shall not be deemed endorsed by me. This video is not and shall never be deemed reasonably sufficient information for the purposes of evaluating a security or investment decision. Any links or promoted products are either paid affiliations or products or services we may benefit from. I also personally operate an actively managed ETF. I may personally hold or otherwise hold long or short positions in various securities, potentially including those mentioned in this video. However, I have no relationship to any issuer other than HouseHack, nor am I presently acting as a market maker. Make sure if you're considering investing in HouseHack to always read the PPM at househack.com.